So you don't think there's going to be much of a recovery, if at all?
I fear not.
Final question. You were at the secretive Bilderberg meeting in Watford on Friday. How are your plans for world domination proceeding?
World domination. Look, to be quite honest with you, I've been to this thing a number of times over the last 15 years. I don't really quite see what the fuss is all about.
But you can't tell us what happened, can you?
It's quite similar to events. You get Conning's Winter with the Germans, the Franco-British clock with the French, a group of people who sit around and they talk about what's happening to medical research,
you didn't decide
the economies. Decide anything.
You didn't go towards world government.
One of the problems with opposition is you don't get to decide anything.
All right. We'll see what happens in 2015.
We will.
Ed Balls, thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Andrew.
What's your favourite organisation with a scary name? Is it Spectre, the Borg, HMRC? How about this Bilderberg group we've just been talking about? They're a club of transatlantic VIPs who meet every year, usually at a very posh location, to discuss, well, who knows? Because, as you've seen, it's all very hush-hush. Guests include the likes of Henry Kissinger, the head of the IMF, and our very own Prime Minister, as well as Mr. Bowles. The PM joined them for this year's top-secret tete-a-tete, which was being held this weekend in the Watford.
Sunny Watford.
It's where world domination begins. It's like Christmas for conspiracy theorists, including our Adam.
The masters of the universe and their critics have spent the weekend at Watford's posh Grove Hotel for the annual Bilderberg meeting. Could that be the Prime Minister? Did George Osborne and Ed Balls share a ride? Is that the boss of Amazon or of Google? Usually top secret, this year the organisers have released a list of the roughly 150 people in there and the topics they've been discussing, including growth, big data and current affairs. The protesters outside accuse this group of everything, from climate change to coups, but they're mainly annoyed about the lack of transparency. The man in the middle of the crowd is Alex Jones, king of the conspiracy theorists.
Are there any conspiracy theories out there that you think are just too nuts and are just too extreme about these guys?
Yeah, I don't personally think they're extraterrestrials or anything like some people say.
Scary stuff, but this protest seems more like a slightly weird party.
It's just corporate megadeth, so we're here to destroy them all.
Something don't feel right about this today.
It's surrounded by a ring of steel and a big but fairly relaxed police presence, which Bilderberg veterans say is a big change.
Well, I had a baptism of fire in 2009, just outside Athens, so I went along and tried to cover it and spent a week being arrested, re-arrested.
While for residents of Watford, it's a bit so what?
Well, I heard it was their secret shadow government meetings. Hasn't been held in England for a long while.
And what do you think of that?
What?
Secret shadow government.
What's that?
Back at base, very few of the 22 invitees from the UK wanted to talk. Well, I just managed to speak to a very senior Bilderberger on the phone. I asked him why all the secrecy, and he said until the 1990s they used to hold press conferences after every meeting, but no journalists turned up, so they stopped doing them. Then, as if by magic, a member of the organisation's influential steering committee turned up in the BBC's offices.
What goes with Bilderberg is an informal discussion about politics and the world's problems with a lot of politicians and businessmen. And we always produce lists of who's there. It's not secret. But we don't have a mass audience listening to our discussions, so it's a good informal weekend where we get together. The internet is full of nutty theories about how we're ruling the world, we're going to invade America, we're poisoning the watercourses, all this kind of thing. It's very much duller than that, I can assure you.
Oh, I'm actually slightly disappointed.
Maybe not so sinister after all. But luckily I'm told there's a Bilderberg splinter group called the Trilateral, which includes the Chinese. And you know how open they are.
That was Adam Fleming reporting from Watford. We've not seen him since. So if you see him, point him back here. We're joined by Alex Jones, an American shock jock. He's been campaigning for more openness at the Bilderberg conference. David Aronovich, who's always sniffy about conspiracy theories. He's a columnist for The Times. Alex Jones, you've been covering Bilderberg for a long time. What have you ever found out about it?
In that piece you just played, there's nothing in the water. Hydrofluorosilicic acid in major Harvard studies has been causing a 7-fold increase in bone
What's
cancer.
that got to do with
Boom.
Bilderberg?
What have I discovered about Bilderberg? The
Yeah.
BBC was able to get the documents decades ago that they helped found the euro, which was actually a Nazi German plan to take over countries economically. No, that's on record. And I've interviewed members of the EU Parliament on the subject who were out there at the event.
But what's that got to do with
3,000
with
people. They turned
Bilderberg?
1,000. Bilderberg is heavily involved in the EU plan and helped hatch it, and it is a Nazi plan. They had Lockheed scandals, just like the big lobbying scandals right now in the 70s, and that's why the SS officer, Prince Bernhard, the founder, had to step down. It is the ultimate lobbying meeting while you guys have this huge scandal going on. Your prime minister's going there. Balls was just here, Bilderberg Group member. We have forced them from cover to admit that there are puppeteers above the major
let me
parties.
bring David around. So now we
And
know
Infowars.com
how, now
documents
we know that Bilderberg has given us the euro.
Yes, I mean, if you talk to Alex for any length of time, you discover all kinds of things that you didn't know about the world.
We've blown it wide open.
You have. You have absolutely blown it wide open. But it leaves me with a huge question for you, Alex. And it's really, you have uncovered the New World Order, which is deadly. It's full of what you call people who are criminals. Well, this is what I'm coming to. It's full of criminals, etc., who seek to run the world and will kill anybody who gets in their way. And you are almost, or have been, a lone crusader powering against them.
No,
so how come?
How am I alive?
How are you still alive?
Why am I alive?
Well, no, which is yes. Listen,
Why
listen.
am I alive?
Which is the explanation? One, they don't exist. Or two, you're part of the conspiracy.
No, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you a story.
I say the first.
5 years ago when Obama and Hillary...
I say the second.
5 years ago when Hillary and Obama were at Bilderberg and the Secret Service was there in helicopters, the New York Times came out and said I was crazy. There was no Bilderberg Group meeting. And my wife got phone calls, and so did I, threatening to kill us. And the people said, and you better take it serious because you were just talking to your dad that was in the hospital. You better shut your mouth or we're going to cut your head off.
But if
now
they
that
were-
no,
if
that's
they were gonna kill you,
they listen to
they wouldn't
listen to
threaten in the first
everybody's
place.
phone lines. They call up and harass people that expose them and tell them what they were just talking about.
They harass
You're going to
people.
say there's no spying.
Alex,
it's like Nazi Germany. The only spy on the bad guys, huh?
You let him speak now.
Well,
Sure.
Alex,
I saw one of your ministers say this, though.
No,
Alex,
you let
I'm
him
here.
speak.
There's tyranny.
No, shut up for the moment.
Infowars.com.
I'm here to testify that your head was not cut off.
Ladies and
Well, are you
gentlemen,
sure
if
about
they
that?
kill me, it turns me into a martyr. It puts big exclamation points on the end of what I've said, and I have put out a lot of information. There's millions of others that are exposing it. And look, we have mega banks that are getting $85 billion a month of U.S. taxpayer money. Most of it goes to Europe and England. British taxpayers, EU taxpayers have to pay to these mega bankers. They're in there setting this up. It's come out. And then the media distracts you with, look at a guy that talked to a lobbyist when the real lobbyist is going on.
Listen, you're not going to dominate this. He gets to speak too. It's not your own radio show. Should we be worried about Bilderberg Group at all?
It's kind of, it's mildly interesting, the Bilderberg Group, and it feels, doesn't it, when you were talking about it in the film, slightly kind of out of date as belonging to the era when you couldn't, when you couldn't even admit in Parliament that there was a secret, when we called the head of MI5M or whatever it was that we called them, we couldn't admit to these things. Yeah. And so to the extent that it seems
people weren't ready to be spied on yet.
What was that a fact?
People hadn't been acclimated yet.
Could you let him finish?
We're in a police state. It's 1984.
Yeah, listen,
you guys just want to normalize it.
Would you let him
Alex,
finish?
how come you're here? If we're in a police state, how come
they
you're
actually
saying?
turned back some of my reporters, but they didn't turn me back, and I was told this because they don't want to make a stink.
Do you think the BBC is part of the Bilderberg Group?
Well, Winston Smith did work here. I mean, come on, Eric Blair worked here, and that's what he said it was.
Why do you think we've
George
let you
Orwell.
on? Why have we let you on then?
Because you guys think that you can manage the whole thing, and now our information's gotten too big. I have 3 million radio listeners a day. That's a low number. 3 million. I get about 50 million YouTube views a month. That's a very conservative number. I make films, put them online for free, that get watched 40 million times, like the Obama deception. That's why, because the establishment doesn't know what to do.
Now, Alex has this point, and it's an important one. I would have, say, 10 years ago said, listen to all this stuff. He believes that people put cancer virus in vaccine in order to create a eugenics program. That's what he believes.
We talk about medical discoveries.
And we would have said, I would have said, hey, that's kind of mad and so on. And it's an interesting psychological phenomenon.
Like Tuskegee,
the problem is that conspiracy theories like this are believed in.
Hey, listen, I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game. Okay, our government in the U.S. is building FEMA camps. We have an NDAA where they disappear people now. You have this arrest for public safety, life in prison.
You are the worst person I've ever interviewed.
No, it's basically off with their heads, disappear
David,
them,
thank
take
you
them
for
away.
being with us.
Infowars.com.
It's gone 11:30. You're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot in the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No, you guys are crazy.
I'll be looking at the week ahead with our political panel. Until then, the Sunday Politics across the UK.